Hi. I think some of you have noticed I haven't done an update since August, so I'll tell you a few things now. The great news is that my leg is doing well. I was wearing an air boot for several weeks. I started physiotherapy 3 weeks ago, and starting yesterday, I can just use a cane around the house, and no air boot at all, just my bare leg and a cane, so that's really exciting. The other thing I want to talk about is the CT scan that I had on September 17th. Now, I had no appointment to see anyone for follow-up until it would have been today, 2.5 weeks later. That wasn't working with me. So my family doctor retired this fall and did that a little early so she could give her practice over to a new doctor coming into the practice. So we had, in order to officially have her as a doctor, we had to have a meet and greet. So I just scheduled my meet and greet for the day after the CT scan. So I go in and have this little small talk with this lovely woman and said, I think there might be a CT scan result for us to look at. And then this poor woman, having just met me, had to break the news that there is actually significant metastatic growth. Which involving 5 new tumors in my liver. And importantly, 2 of those tumors were on the left side of my liver. So I had an embolization in August, so that trying to encourage the left side to grow, so that when we take out the right side, there at least be 35% of my liver left to sustain me. And so the CT scan was supposed to be showing us, if that had grown enough and hopefully how much my other tumors had shrunk since I'd had, more chemo over the course of the summer. So this was kind of shocking, bad news. And I was like, oh, I'm basically screwed. And she said, yes, I'm so sorry. Lovely, compassionate lady. I think I'm going to enjoy working with her. But I left the office, Michael was in the waiting room, and I said, let's go to a park. And I sat on a bench looking over First Lake and the trees and the ducks and explained to him where we were. In the meantime, this new doctor called my oncologist and insisted that he meet with me a lot sooner. So 5 days later, not this past Monday, but the one before, I met with him, and he explained that while we still had to wait to hear from the liver surgeon, and both of us had tried and hadn't yet, he was 90% sure that I would be inoperable. And basically our option was more chemotherapy. Not the same mix it had before, because I can't have the oxaliplatin, the one that had given me neuropathy, anymore. So it was going to be kind of a milder mix, and it would be for every 2 weeks for the rest of my life. And the rest of my life, if the chemo wasn't very effective, that would be several months. And if the cancer did respond to the chemo, then maybe 3 years. Although I'm not really sure how long a liver with 7 tumors in it would hold out. But anyway, that's what we were looking at. And, I continued trying to process that. It took me a couple more days until I got to a place where I was sort of okay with it. Obviously, still really sad, still angry, still felt like it wasn't fair. But I was thinking about, what are my priorities? And that's my children. And so I was just thinking about, protecting them from this grief as long as possible. To that end, they don't know anything about the CT scan results or anything after that. Those are grown-up problems, and we'll tell them as soon as we know exactly what's going on, and not before. But I was thinking about, trying to be a joyful presence in their life every day for as long as possible. And also, how can I make life smoother for Michael and the children in my absence? So, I started thinking about decluttering, making videos and notes for the children, explaining processes and things for Michael, thinking about funeral, all that stuff. And so I started doing that. But then we finally got to meet the surgeon. And she said that there's actually still a chance that she could get all the cancer out of me. So she met with some other surgeons, and there is a radiology interventionalist who could ablate or burn the tumor in the left that's kind of hard to get at, and then she could take out the other one. They would take out the whole right side of the liver as planned, and the right side of my colon. And then, while I recover from that major surgery, a couple months later, the thoracic surgeon could take out the one small lump in my lungs, and that could be done called VATS, but it's basically laparoscopically. So that's a cool sounding plan. It does come with a higher risk of liver failure, but then if we do nothing, there's a 100% chance of liver failure. And also, the really big chance is that they'll get in there, they'll cut me open, realize that the tumors have grown too much, because they are growing quickly right now, and they'll just have to sew me back up and wait 4 weeks at least for me to recover, and then start the chemo a lot later than they would have done otherwise. So that's a risk that could, it's something that could really happen. But also, maybe this will work, right? Maybe they could actually get all the cancer out of me, and I could go back to my life and maybe even work again, which would be amazing. So I kind of have the choice, right, between taking this risk and starting the chemo, because I was supposed to start chemo this coming Monday, and the liver surgeon has asked me not to. You can't have chemo within 4 weeks of surgery, and she is trying to get me in as soon as possible. But she hasn't I don't have a date yet, so she's, it might not be within 4 weeks like she wants it to be. And every day that goes on, my cancer is growing. So, I need to tell my children at the end of all this that I did everything I could. And so I'm going to trust my liver surgeon, who has, this is the same woman who, it took her a month to get back to me after the June CT scan. She's a very busy woman, but I'm going to trust that she's going to get me in a timely manner, and that this is going to work. And if it doesn't, well, we will find the good and the beauty and the humor in whatever situation I end up with, because that's what we do. So yeah, I guess I'm asking all of you to send your prayers, your good intentions, your thoughts my way, as we kind of wait and hope. Thank you.